Cheers, y'all.
Well. Welcome, my friends, to the most beautiful on-location show we've ever done, Smoking and Toasting, live from the Rainbow Lodge in Houston. And
this is amazing.
I mean, you see this?
Here.
Yeah.
I hope you can see the background.
Yeah, we are. We're here on show number 158. We're live at the Rainbow Lodge. Treaty Oak is here. We'll tell you more about that coming up. But we are brought to you by the fine folks at B&B Butchers and Restaurant, 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops. Oh, there's the delayed. Well. There we go. And the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Today we are at the Rainbow Lodge, and what ultimately guided us here was a while back we had Marc Borel on the show. We were talking. We did our first ever wine show. We'd done almost 150 shows at that time, and had never done a wine show, so we were overdue. So I got connected to Marc through a number of good friends. And they said, if you're going to do a wine show, this is the guy. And boy, was he.
Oh, that was so fun.
We had so much fun on that show.
Amazing show.
Well, we got to drink bubbles.
Yes, that's my favorite. So it was terrific. So we talked about, when we begin to inch closer to the holidays, we should come and do, when the weather got a little nice, we should do a show out here on this beautiful back lot of the property. And we should probably talk wine, like for the holidays, because people want to serve wine at holiday parties and want to drink wine when they go out for the holidays. And so it'll be good to get into the specifics of what you should be thinking, what you should be planning. And so Marc looks at me and he says, cool, I'll ask the guys from Treaty Oak to come along. And I'm like, okay, done.
Awesome.
So here we are. And
Wait, let me think about that. Hell yes.
Yeah. So here we are, and Tony from Treaty Oak is with us. Tony, introduce yourself real quick and tell us exactly where you are located. I know you're close to Austin for the distillery, right?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Tony Gonzales, national sales manager for Treaty Oak Distilling, and we're located about 20 miles outside of Austin, southwest, in a small town called Dripping Springs.
Oh, yes.
Very great, cool little community down there, and we're a huge part of it. We got a 28-acre ranch out there. We have a full-service restaurant, 3 bars, music venue. We're doing it up pretty big. Our distillery sits out there, our rick house. So it's a lot of fun.
All right, so you're going to tell us all about that on the show. We're going to be doing some tasting, including now. Is this gin? Is this a brand new thing for you guys, or has this been around for a little while?
Gin's been around for a while.
Okay.
The most recent thing we've kind of come up with is the whiskey, but the gin's been around for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the gin came first. And then the whiskey.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Whiskey takes a lot longer.
Yeah, well, there's that aging process that's hard to get around. Unless you're Pabst Blue Ribbon, of course. Their new whiskey is aged for 5 seconds.
For 5
we
seconds,
talked about
yes.
that, right? It's aged for 5 seconds in oak barrels. And the reason, apparently, is because if it doesn't touch oak, it can't be called whiskey. Is that right? Yeah, right.
That's
because
a new one to me, but...
Right, no, because you can do the basically it's moonshine. If it doesn't touch oak.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
And until it touches oak, it's not whiskey. So they actually say on their bottles that it's aged for 5 seconds.
That's an odd thing to boast about.
They basically pour it through a barrel on its way to the glass. So anyway, we'll.
I'm sure that reflects in the taste, but I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet, but I can only imagine.
But if it's anything like the beer, it's
it's
probably good for a frat party.
Well, it's let's just say it's not been. Probably not been designed to be at your higher echelon.
I wonder what that Boilermaker may taste like. Pabst Blue Ribbon with Pabst Blue Ribbon poured in it.
That tastes like the bottom of the Boilermaker, probably. So anyway, we have a lot of great stuff to be able to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about cocktails, which include some of the Treaty Oak stuff. So back onto the cocktail train, because it happens this time of year. People start thinking about holiday parties. You start thinking about wines. You start thinking about cocktails.
Yeah.
What am I? Particularly if you're throwing a party, what am I going to have?
Well, because we're in October now, so Halloween is usually the first big holiday party that people have, and then it's holiday parties for the rest of the year.
I like to say that Halloween's essentially the beginning of the Christmas season. Because really,
pretty
it is.
much it,
I mean,
right?
once you wake up the next morning and look and see what leftover candy exists in your house. It's Christmas time. That's just the way it goes. So, wanted to say really quick a special thanks to last week's guest, Alan Denny, and to Brett and Teresa from Fetching Lab Brewery.
That was so fun.
We were on the island last week, Galveston, at the Galveston Island Cigar Lounge with Alan Denny, and it was a lot of fun. In fact, I am smoking an HVC Cero. Is that how you would say that?
I'd assume so.
All right, Cerro. So you would attempt to roll the R's and make it Cero instead of Cero.
Zero.
Yeah, if it was El Cero, we would know that would be Spanish for the Cero.
Cero, yes.
Yeah, but in our case, anyway, this is a brand new one for me. I've not smoked one of these before. Alan recommended it out of the humidor there. So
taking a recommendation from him is usually a pretty sure bet. So
well, yeah,
that
the
makes
guy
it,
kind of knows what he's
that makes it
talking
pretty.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does a bit.
We could question his taste in Friends, but as far as the tobacco, he knows what he's talking about.
There's that.
So far this is really nice. It'll be interesting to see how this pairs up. What are you smoking there?
Well, I
buddy?
decided to bring, since we had this beautiful scenery and we're going to have wine and cocktails and everything else and awesome whiskey and whatnot, I would bring a cigar that our producer brought for me for my birthday this year. This is the Padron 1964 Family Reserve.
Nice.
This is outside of my north. This is what I call my special occasion cigars.
Yes,
and
yes.
I've been saving it for a good special occasion.
This is
so
the
here we are,
perfect
and this
one.
is outstanding.
The perfect
Absolutely
one.
outstanding.
The perfect one. And Tony's smoking one of the little Epicurio Oscuro. I forget which one
Is that the
is.
Dusk?
No, but it's an Oscuro, and it's just an Epicurio Selection Oscuro. That looks like a. Would that be a Corona? Is that what that would be? A Corona size?
Hard to go wrong with that.
Yeah, so that looks good, and
Definitely smokes great.
hopefully you're enjoying that. So it'll be fun to pair these things up and see how it goes. We're looking forward to that. And one thing we didn't talk about this until late in the show last week, and so I want to correct that error today. Whiskey Sniff
Whiskey
is
Sniff.
on, and the tickets are selling fast. We will be doing the Whiskey Sniff. We'll go into more detail about how it works later on in the show. But we'll be doing the Whiskey Sniff for its second year. The first year sold out. This year's tickets are selling fast. It is happening on Wednesday, November 6th. It is upstairs at the B&B Houston location in Washington, on Washington Ave, I should say. And we will have whiskeys from all over the world. We'll have cigars in your pack when you arrive, and it's going to be a blast. So,
Awesome.
I didn't realize you actually hunt for the wild game that you serve here at the restaurant out in your back patio. That sounded like a
sure
shotgun we heard a moment ago.
I know it looks like it was a pecan of some sort that fell onto the roof.
I brought my
but it sounded like
I brought my wife to dinner here a while back, and you've got one item on the menu where it's like a sampler of the different sort of wild game and stuff, because there was wild boar and there was elk, and
we have an appetizer portion called the Taste of the Wild,
right?
And then there's the big sampler in the evening where you get some, like, it's a boar chop and some quail, and
it really, not only was it really amazing, and I enjoyed it, and it was great to be able to do that, because that would have been 5-6 different visits sampling each thing separately, so you got to really get an idea of the flavor for it. But it also led to a sentence I uttered the next day after my wife and I were here that I didn't think was something I'd ever say, and that was, as I said to my wife, elk is really good the next day. I didn't think that's something I'd ever say.
That's badass leftovers.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So it
That's
was
like the leftovers that you really look forward to.
Yeah, that's right.
That's better than I got some of that. I'll just
I'll just reheat this. I'll be like, ooh, wild boar. Let's do it.
I think the majority of the people who come here are surprised at how much they like the elk.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, elk is, I don't want to say all the rage, but I've been hearing a lot from the community that
it's so hot right now.
Yeah, it is. It's actually kind of a big deal. So I would say there was about 20 minutes of a Joe Rogan podcast devoted to elk that I happen to be listening to. So there you go. So we got a lot going on. Whiskey Sniff will tell you more about that. We're going to be doing some tasting. What are we going to be tasting today that you brought from the distillery there, Tony?
Yeah, so I brought pretty much our entire lineup. We have 3 different gins and we have 3 different whiskeys, and
awesome.
We can taste them all. We can taste them one by one, however you guys want to do it.
We'll taste them all one by one. I think that'll be the way.
I'm following his example.
I think that'll be the way to go. So, and then we'll also do some cocktails as we mentioned, and we have a Nick Jonas update for you. So it's going to be like a good show, I think.
Holding my breath.
Yeah, excellent. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and start some tasting. It's Smoking and Toasting. It's show number 158, and we are live at the Rainbow Lodge in Houston. We'll be right back. So we are back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are on show number 158. We are live, my friends, at the Rainbow Lodge in Houston. Give me the address here for the Rainbow Lodge for people that, just in case people
we're
have
at
not been here.
Ella and TC Jester.
Okay.
Just inside the North Loop.
Just inside the North Loop. Yeah, in fact, if you come to Ella off of the North Loop, it's only like 2-3 blocks,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
maybe
it's
6, but it's
okay,
just really close.
The driveway will sneak up on you, though, so watch real close.
So, yeah, you'll have to enter on 21st Street.
And I will say, when you're coming down the road to get here, if you've seen this already on the video here, you're going to think, I can't possibly be in the right place. Because it looks like a residential and retail mixed-use sort of neighborhood, and then all of a sudden there's this little pocket. I don't know where you guys even found this. This is amazing.
Well, this was that's a 115-year-old log cabin that was built as a home originally, and it's been several different incarnations. But before we moved in, it was another restaurant, a French restaurant called La Tour d'Argent. And when it became available, the lodge, who by the way, it's celebrating its 42nd anniversary this year.
That's amazing for any restaurant establishment to last that long.
When it became available, the owners decided that this was the proper place for them to be, and here we are.
The decor fits, the theme and the vibe of the restaurant perfectly. But was it like that, or do they have to basically rebuild it?
We've done some things.
Yeah.
Obviously, the log cabin didn't move. The walls didn't move, and it still looks like a log cabin. But we've done some things in the bar. We've worked out some things in our main dining room. Which we call the Creek Room, for obvious reasons, because there's a
right off of the
really
creek,
nice creek behind us, and so it just works. It works out really great.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, it's a beautiful place. It's very relaxing, and of course, this time of year is perfect if you can get a spot to eat out here on the patio.
Yeah, the weather is
just
just broken.
Yeah.
And so instead of it being 93 degrees at night and 99 during the day, it's just absolutely gorgeous right now.
By the way, I was talking to a friend of mine in Quebec. They have snow already, so the weather has broken there as well.
Right.
But we're going to enjoy this out here, and honestly, this is the time. If you want to do that sort of romantic dinner out on the balcony under the about the time the sun's going down, this is perfect.
This is also the reason when people come visit, especially in the summer, come visit Houston, they're like, why would you people live here?
Right.
Well, because guess what? From October until, March, we're going to be able to do this.
Well, that's exactly right. In fact, I always say that this is the time of year, or we're just about to get to the time of year, where people come down here and go, why don't I live here?
Yeah.
And then they move here and experience one of the summers.
Then they meet August.
Yeah, right. So, Mark, you mentioned there were some gentlemen at a table kind of down the way from us here, outdoors on the ramp, that come out here and smoke cigars every now and then.
They're in quite a high profile business, and when they celebrate the success of a deal,
landing a new account, or something like that.
They come by and smoke cigars and drink really good wine.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Which I'm
That's
happy
a great
about.
way to celebrate.
And actually, I haven't seen them in a few weeks. And when we were planning this, the first thing I thought about were those guys. And turns out they showed up. And here they are.
So you guys are cool with people being able to smoke cigars out here. That's
absolutely.
That's not a special exception for us. This is a place where people can come and smoke, and that's important. We like to point that out because not every place is as welcoming.
Right.
You understand some places it doesn't make sense, but to find the places that are, we like to be able to pass that along to people in whatever town we're in.
Now, you guys don't have cigars on premise,
we don't.
correct? So you have to bring your own cigars. But
but I got lots of scotch.
That's awesome, too.
You got
You're like, whatever you bring, I can match it.
That's
awesome.
Good to know. Yes, absolutely. Well, so tell us what you've poured here, Tony. This is the gin, and you've got gin in several different shades, I see.
Yeah. So this one here is going to be Treaty Oak Distilling Waterloo No. 9 gin.
Waterloo No. 9.
Yeah, so Waterloo, for those that don't know, we are a company that started in Austin, and Waterloo was the first name of Austin. Before it was called Austin, it was called Waterloo. So we kind of pay homage to some of the history of where we're coming from with naming it Waterloo No. 9. And this is what we call a Texas botanical gin. It's going to have 9 botanicals in it. Some of the unique ones is going to be Texas pecan. Which is in season right about now, right? To Texas pecan.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so we get our Texas pecan from up by where our owner Daniel Barnes was born and raised, up by Menard, and some of the other unique features. We get citrus from the Rio Grande Valley, and you'll find when you kind of taste it, the first thing you're going to pick up is the kind of floralness, and that's going to be Texas lavender. So
yeah, the floral comes up obvious. It's sweeter than I imagined it was going to be. Sweeter than I usually experience in a first sip of gin.
I can get the pecan, though. I can pull that out of there.
Yeah,
very
it's
interesting.
funny. I'm not pulling the pecan, but I get so much orange and orange peel in
Yeah.
there. Like, that's huge to me.
I really like this in terms of my palate and gin. Sometimes I feel like gin, even though I enjoy it for a change-up, but sometimes it's just a little too perfumey for me. And this doesn't trend that way. This has the citrus and the pecan flavors and stuff keep that lavender from being keep it from smelling like I've walked into like
Right.
a woman's powder room. You know what I mean?
I'll be brutally honest about lavender. Usually immediately turns me off, but this has a much softer kind of lavender profile.
Yeah, I like it very much.
It's there, but it's not in your face, and like you said, it doesn't smell like you walked by Bed Bath & Beyond.
well, we worked pretty hard, and I think all the botanicals in it. There's also some ginger in it, so it gives a little bit of heat, and it just kind of balances really nicely. Everything together just kind of rounds out, and we've been very careful to not overpower the lavender, but also using the lavender as a kind of toning down some of the juniper notes that a lot of people notice are in gins are just juniper can be overpowering.
Very juniper forward, yeah.
So we've just worked really hard on making a really well balanced gin. Works very nice in a cocktail program.
I was going to say, I bet this would make a wonderful martini.
Yes, it does. An amazing martini.
I can attest to that.
That's good to know. And there's a number of people that I know that are trying desperately to convert me from vodka to gin for my martinis. So.
Well, because when you're going to have a martini, you use gin. That's why.
So thank you. Thank you for clearing that up. But see,
That's
man,
how you
there's
make a
nothing-
martini.
but see,
Your
there's
first
nothing-
ingredients is gin.
Okay, well, I love drinks that are meant to be cold, right? Mm-hmm. And there's nothing quite like a vodka martini made with a really great vodka that is so cold that ice is still kind of crystallizing on the top while you drink it. That's a pretty good thing. This is a different martini. This would be a different martini.
I have to tell you about this. I have a brother that lives in International Falls, Minnesota. It is the average coldest place in the United States. And in the winter, when it's at minus 20 to minus 30 degrees, he'll make what he calls a sub-zero martini. He takes everything outside, sticks it in the snow. That's how he gets the glass nice and cold. And then he makes his martini at that temperature.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Pretty
that sounds
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, they tell you most, I like my beer cold. I'm really supposed to drink it warmer, closer to room temperature. Wine, obviously, you're looking for room temperature with everything but the white and the sparkling. But yeah, martinis are supposed to be cold.
No, when he takes his gin bottle and sticks it outside in the snow for a few minutes, and then brings it in and makes the martini, and it's already starting at below freezing. That makes it. It's pouring out like syrup.
The only downside I see to that cocktail build is the snowsuit you have to put on to go in and out of the house.
That's exactly right.
The funny thing is, he's lived up there so long. I went out shooting at the range with him when I was up there, and it was only 20-something degrees when we were out shooting, and I kept having to go in the car to warm my fingers. Those guys were out there without gloves because they're just so used to it. Like it's not even a big deal to them unless it's like actually below zero. They don't even bother with gloves.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That is crazy, because I'll tell you what, a couple of days from now, I'll probably be putting gloves on here in Houston.
Right,
so
that's about it.
it's the way it'll probably
Yeah, because
run.
it'll be below 70, and then it's just over.
It's martini weather.
That's right.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, I like the idea of the what'd you call it?
The Sub-Zero martini.
Sub-Zero martini.
Yes.
I think
I
that
figured
sounds
you'd
fantastic.
appreciate that because
Yes,
it's
I
like
do.
I love
using his environment.
Well, you know, there are certain schools of thought about what a martini should be and how it should be served, and whether you stir it or shake it, or whether those ice crystals are a good thing or a bad thing. My thought on that is just
Whatever works for you.
drink what you like.
Yeah, drink what you
But
like.
I tell people
agree.
that all the time.
Yeah.
With we have some wines that maybe I wouldn't drink at home, but they're there for you, and I tell people all the time, drink what you like.
I'd just like to point out that I think of the four of us here at the table, I think Tony has proven himself to be the smartest one, because I noticed that as we're going to the second gin here, he's the only one that dumped anything out from his glass. The rest of us, our glasses were completely empty. So what are we tasting here?
This one here is going to be so essentially the Waterloo No. 9 gin is the base for this gin. It starts out exactly the same botanical build, same distillate that comes off of the still. We basically split it in half. Half of it goes to proofing and bottling for the No. 9, and the other half goes straight into fresh first use American oak barrels for aging.
Yeah.
So this is a barrel aged gin. It's over a 2-year-old. 2-year-old is going to be the youngest juice we put in this. And like I said, it's a virgin barrel, so it's not a used whiskey barrel or used rum barrel or anything like that.
It's a virgin oak barrel.
Virgin oak, yep. So
This is delicious.
Can I say I haven't tried it yet, but I just want to tell you on the nose, I get hints of bubble gum.
really bubble
Like,
gum.
is that weird? Is that just me?
That's just you, I think. But
It could be.
no, I know what you're talking about.
But
There's a
there's-
certain sort of
the
classic sweetness to
pink
it.
bubble
Yes,
gum, you know?
Absolutely. I'm going to tell you, this almost feels more like a whiskey than it does a gin. When it's in your mouth.
delicious.
Isn't it though?
It's interesting because it has some of the notes from the whiskey, but its mouthfeel is so different. Like it's so quick in the palate.
Yeah.
It's just like that through the palate.
Almost had a little bit of a dryness
Thank
to
you.
it.
That looks
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes.
So the antique gin, we do call it our gin for whiskey drinkers. It's
makes
treated
sense.
exactly like a bourbon. Once it goes into the barrel, it sits there. It ages with all of our bourbon barrels. So it's,
Well, it gets that color from the barrel too. If you can't see it on the camera over there, it's got that that nice charred
Yeah,
oak
definitely.
color. Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like a whiskey
You know,
rather
and
than a
it's
gin.
interesting. I love that you think of it that way as your gin for whiskey drinkers, because one of the things I really enjoy doing, for example, with rum, is if I have somebody who doesn't know that much about rum, they want to try it, but I know they're a whiskey drinker, I'll direct them to certain kinds of rum.
Yes.
That will come across and feel a little more like what they're already
Right, and have
accustomed
some of
to
those
and like,
more predictable
and then that
flavors.
can kind of pull them into the world of rum if they like it, and they can begin then to experiment and try other things. So this would be highly recommended if you are a whiskey lover who would like to expand your palate a little bit, learn more about gin. This is a great place to start.
Well, and
Right,
that's exactly why we made this old fashioned here.
Oh, so this old fashioned, and thank you, by the way, for having these delivered. This is well, this reminds me why I look forward to Thursdays so much. This is an old fashioned made with gin and not with whiskey. Is that right?
Right. So it's made with the antique gin.
Wow.
I travel quite a bit and get inspirations for a lot of different things. And on one of my travels, I had a really great old fashioned, but made with tequila. And I thought,
Right.
well, I like gin. I would think an old fashioned with a good aged gin would work well, and that's where this came in. And just so happens that my favorite Texas producer makes a barrel aged gin, and so that's what we have here. We call it a very old English fashion.
Right. I
Because
see
there's
this
some
on
That
the
is
menu
syrup
here.
in
so
it.
good. Did you try this?
Not yet. I'm just
That
about
is
to.
so amazingly good. That has
Is that what's floating in that? Is that blueberries?
Juniper.
Juniper
Oh,
berries.
Juniper berries. Okay, got
That
it.
has
That makes
such a
sense.
completely different, such a completely different flavor profile.
Wow.
Yet is still definitely an old fashioned.
I totally agree, and that's the difference, obviously, between the gin and the whiskey. But wow, that's terrific.
This
Yes.
is a great cocktail. I was just looking at the build there on your sheet. So sweet tea syrup. Can you tell?
Yeah, so we have
Do tell.
the sweet tea that we bring in from Katz's down the road. We're very, very happy with, and so we cook it down and make a syrup
That's awesome.
with it. So it takes the basic formula of old fashioned, the spirit, the sweet, and the bitters. But we and because a lot of people think when they think gin, they think England, obviously,
Right.
and tea. So that's where the tea came in, and there's a little lemon bitters on there as well. And
Yeah, that plays really well together.
So this is something that is on the menu. You can order this
right now, yeah.
Yeah, here if you come in.
Yeah, so
It's
there's
the
6 or 8 different old fashions on the menu. We're kind of nuts with it.
This one, the very old English fashion.
Yeah.
So that's really, really.
I will
terrific.
order this again. This is
Yeah,
outstanding.
and I see here, by the way, not to go off in a different direction, but that you did blend one up with tequila in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I did one with tequila. I was in Paris of all places and went to a tequila bar behind a
Because when you're in Paris, you always
That's
think
what you
tequila
do.
bar. Yes.
I went to a tequila bar behind a little taco shop in Paris and had this really great tequila old fashioned and kind of did a riff on it and did that. Also, when I was in Hawaii, I had this coconut washed bourbon that one of the hotels made, and that's kind of what got the ball rolling. I thought, wow, this is delicious on its own. I bet this, and it was in a fruity Hawaiian
Of
drink,
course,
but
yeah, with a little umbrella in it.
I
yeah.
thought that it would be really great in old fashioned, and that's kind of how this whole ball got rolling.
Well, this idea to use the Waterloo Antique Gin, this really
That
works.
is absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic.
Sometimes it's funny when you have the the master bartenders, the ones that are so good at coming up with cocktails. Sometimes you sample one of their cocktails, you go, yeah, this is interesting. I really am glad that I tried this. And then other times you try one, you're like, I'd like another one of these.
Yeah.
And this is that second kind. Like, it's not just like an interesting experiment. This is a great drink.
well, these will
You
be
know?
made at my house now.
I'll send you the recipe.
Okay, good. I love it.
We have this rule here on the bar at the Rainbow Lodge is that if it takes longer to garnish the drink than it does to make it, it doesn't belong here.
That's
Stop.
awesome.
Now, see,
Yeah.
I love that because I get a kick out of going to the bars where the drinks are so specialized that they're sending someone. Hang on, we'll have your drink for you in a moment. We're sending someone to Kentucky to get a particular kind of garnish that only grows on the left side of the hills, and of course there are no hills in Kentucky.
That's
so,
right.
it's kind of. Some of them have kind of that vibe. They're trying so hard.
If you
to be
go,
different.
like, there's a place in town here called Anvil that
what I was
specializes
thinking
in
of, yeah.
the really nice
And they
cocktails.
make great cocktails.
But here's the deal: if you go there on a night that's not that busy, and order the drink at the bar because you want to watch them make it because it's the only thing that's going to take up the amount of time it takes them to make it. Now the drink is good, but it's almost like you're paying for the whole entertainment of watching them make it. And if you're sitting at a table, you don't get to see that, and that to me is. That takes too long.
It's
like,
part
which
of
is-
the show.
Well,
Yeah.
I will just say I have a soft spot for Anvil, even though sometimes the drink making is a bit pretentious, because that was the first place I ever had a Stone IPA. So that was a revelation. That was like because they're one of those places where they don't have anything on the taps. It's just a tap, and you have to look
Yeah,
up
you
at
have
the
to look at the
chalkboard.
thing.
And yeah,
This is so good, by the
Well,
way, and
yeah,
the,
it
and the little
really
juniper
is.
berries in there are so fun.
and I love this gin. This is this needs to be in my bar like immediately. This will be there by the weekend. I assure you.
I think I know a guy.
We're gonna follow Tony out to the car
That's
when,
right.
he's,
All right.
when he's
All
leaving.
right, Ian. You go over there and make a loud noise, and then I'll take care of the gin.
As soon as he opens his trunk.
Yeah, right. All right. I tell you what, we're going to take another quick break. We're live at the Rainbow Lodge in Houston, which I just have to say is it's a wonderful place to come because I've only been here for dinner, but it's a wonderful place to come in the afternoon too. Hang out here on the balcony on a nice day. Order one of these, order several of these.
Have as many as you like.
As
I've
many
got
as you
plenty
like.
of gin.
And enjoy some cigars. And so we'll be right back. I'll check in with you on your cigar when we come back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 158 at the Rainbow Lodge with Treaty Oak. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant, 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth, BB Italia on Memorial in Houston, and BB Lemon on Washington Ave, and Annie, soon to be recreated from the.
Can't wait to see what that's like.
Yeah, from the embers of the old Annie. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. Wanted to mention, you realize we, as of several weeks ago, this show has adopted Nick Jonas as our official celebrity dude that we love.
That's right.
So if you haven't heard the story, Nick Jonas appeared on the cover of Cigar Aficionado magazine this month. The youngest person ever featured.
Yeah.
I believe we found out he was 28. So youngest guy ever featured on the cover of Cigar Aficionado. And there was this huge backlash from people claiming that Nick was doing something terrible because he was encouraging teenagers to smoke.
I'm pretty sure Nick Jonas at 28 is not encouraging any teenagers.
I don't think I don't think there's a teenager alive who cares one way or another what Nick Jonas does. Now, 25-year-old, maybe.
I want to point out how fast stuff moves when you're a teenager, okay? Yeah. The kids that listened to Nick Jonas when they were teenagers followed Nick Jonas because they were also teenagers. But 5 years after Nick Jonas hit the teenage population, the new teenagers had somebody else they were watching anyway. Right. And by the way, Nick Jonas, and congratulations to him for being the youngest person on the cover of Cigar Aficionado, is a grown man.
Right.
Smokes cigars.
Right. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, let him. He enjoys them. I mean, come on.
He's a grown man.
It's actually a really nice interview in the magazine with Nick Jonas. So we decided, and this is probably against what anyone would have guessed. We decided that we're working now on getting Smoking and Toasting I'm with Nick shirts.
Amazing.
Because we want to support his right to smoke the cigar and enjoy himself. And so as an ongoing part of that, I've pledged now to keep people updated on Nick Jonas's career at all times on this show. So, with that in mind, congratulations, Nick Jonas, who's just been named as a coach on The Voice next season.
There we go.
Way to go, Nick. Yeah. So I would pay big money. And to me, big money would be like $25. I would pay big money to
I'll chip in a $5.
Okay, good. To see Nick Jonas walk onto the set when he's going to coach with a big cigar.
With a cigar.
A big lit cigar. Oh, I would pay good money for that. That would seem that would seem like
amazing.
Sort of some sort of cosmic retribution to
right.
What
to I have a question. What if he influences a bunch of grown-ups to start smoking cigars, and grown-ups actually make decisions for themselves?
Oh no, you're getting into weird territory
like that.
there.
Yeah, that seems a little crazy, doesn't it?
People actually making their own decisions instead of being able to blame them on celebrities.
Idea. How about parents talk to their kids?
Yeah,
and like not let their teen icons raise their kids.
That's right. I think that's perfect.
Oh,
I think that's perfect. Now, listen, I'm about to be a grandfather for the first time. And I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I don't know if they're going to let me around the grandbaby. Because what I mostly do with, the kids and the stepkids, mostly I teach them how to shoot craps and pair cigars and whiskey.
That's what you've done so far.
That's what I've done so far. So I don't know if they're going to let me around the grandchild.
That sounds like the ideal grandfather.
Well, I know, but I don't know. I don't know what the grandchild and I are going to do for like 21 years. Once they hit 21, yeah, I got you covered. No problem. Come on over. I'll take care of you.
I'm sure you'll figure it out. Though.
All right.
I'm trying to picture you changing a diaper. By the way, that's going to be amazing.
Keep trying, because I don't know if I'm going to. I don't know if I'm going to make that. It was funny. I was talking to my wife about it, and she says, she said something about, I just found out that when the grandbaby comes, I'm going to have to go to, and something about the way she was saying it, I thought she was talking about like when we were babysitting, and she was saying she was going to have to go somewhere and leave me alone with the child, and I actually panicked. Beads of sweat started standing out on the front of my forehead, but she assured me, no, I mean when the baby gets here.
Do you remember you remember the old cartoon where they had the little baby character with the big cigar?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What was that? Baby Huey?
Was that Baby Huey? It was like the little gangster baby. Does anybody remember that? Am I showing my age? I'm totally
I
showing my
definitely-
age
Something
right
about
now.
that sounds vaguely
Wasn't that on
familiar.
Roger Rabbit? Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
See that?
Well, I
man?
think that the one on
that
Who
based
Framed
on-
Roger Rabbit was
What
actually
probably was that character because
Was
that
that character,
collected all
right,
those
right.
different. Yeah. And you just kind of dated yourself even with the Roger Rabbit reference. So that's good. What are we sampling next? We have one more gin to sample, didn't we?
Yeah, the last gin is going to be our Waterloo Old Yopon gin. And
Old Yopon?
Old Yopon, yeah. a lot
Okay,
of this
so
stuff.
is that another Central Texas reference?
It is, definitely. Yopon grows native in Central Texas. It's an indigenous species it's a member of the holly family, so it grows pretty rampant, and it kind of took over town of Bastrop after the wildfires up
Okay.
there. So,
Oh, yeah.
we work with a company called Lost Pines Yopon, and they actually go
It's
out
a
and
Yopon company.
they forage Yopon from a lot of the ranches and stuff in the area
Right.
that it just kind of grows rampant on, where normally they would just burn it or do something kind of destructive to their property. This company actually goes in, pulls it out, processes it, and gives it to us as a final food product. So
Interesting.
Originally, it was used as it's an old Native American tea.
I see.
But this the way
So
we
is
use
this
it,
part of the distillate then?
it goes in the gin. So it's part of our botanical build for the gin. So this one is going to be Yopon, kaffir lime zest, star anise, obviously
This-
a little bit of juniper.
Is like nothing I've had.
I was going to say.
This is
I
so
didn't know
different.
what to expect from this.
And
And
what's funny is
the nose didn't even really
there's
tell me
not a
what,
lot
yeah.
of nose to it, actually. There's a little sweetness and a little something that I don't really recognize, which I'm assuming would be the Yopon.
Wildflower honey
Is
well.
that and
Yeah.
Maybe
but
that's-
the
yeah.
flavor of this just blossoms, and this also has a little bit bigger or a little oilier mouthfeel than the other does.
Right.
as
So
well.
this one's gonna be our take on an Old Tom style gin. So an Old Tom is gonna be back sweetened, but we still keep this at 90 proof, even though it is back sweetened with wildflower honey. So it's an interesting product, and we literally gave our head of product development, mad scientist, genius by the name of Philip Dormont. We gave him kind of carte blanche and told him, you know what, we
Go
want to
for it,
round out
yeah.
our gin portfolio with a third gin. So, go nuts and go out there and find us something that nobody else is doing. And this is kind of what he came back with. And I find it's a great product.
This is so incredibly unique and different.
And delicious, by the way.
And delicious,
Yeah.
yes. I want to point one thing out. So far, everything we've had has gone really well with my cigar. This, I think it's the anise in there, because when I have a puff of my cigar afterwards, I really get the anise flavor start to explode in my mouth, which I
Interesting.
didn't notice as much on the front when I tried the gin in the first place, but it's
Right.
very interesting. These two
It's
don't go well
amplifying
together,
that.
but this is so unique and so incredibly interesting. I don't even know what to say. This is...
And really,
I can't stop
really
drinking it
delicious.
either.
Is
delicious.
There's
is
plenty.
gin kind of going through a bit of a renaissance as a spirit?
It is one of the fastest growing categories in the spirits world. A lot of people are starting to move towards, you were talking about the vodka martinis and stuff like that. A lot
People are
of people are
moving
starting
towards gin
to
and
move
martinis,
back
yeah.
towards gin. And really it's because, there's companies like Treaty Oak that are out there actually concentrating on gin and making quality products.
Right. This
Whereas-
wasn't just something that you made to mark time while you waited for the whiskey to
No,
age.
no, not at all.
No,
Yeah.
and I think you have a great point there, because a lot of people, when they think gin, instantly they think Christmas tree,
Right.
and they think
Right.
that pine and
that juniper,
right.
Their grandfather's
pine
gin.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly, and what they're not tasting is not only gin like this, but the majority of gin out there that
Right.
doesn't taste like that. So
Right.
people are scared of it.
Gin
Yeah.
is it's an open category, really. I mean, you gotta have juniper, and it's gotta be a distillate, and that's outside of that. I mean, it's kind of the wild
free to
west. You're kind of
experiment,
free
yeah.
to experiment.
Can I project just a little bit here? I'm assuming that gin is having a little bit of a renaissance for a couple reasons. One, I think that it's been kind of off the palate for a while, and sometimes people want something different.
Well, like
But
we
I
were
th-
saying, people were thinking of it in that Christmas
Right,
tree,
right.
your grandfather's gin sort of a way.
But I think also, I think one of the things that happens is we have so many distilleries that are opening up, and you can't have an aged whiskey the first year you open up a distillery.
Right.
So a lot of the things that distilleries are doing is making other expressions like gin. because gin can be turned around a little faster. Am I correct on this?
Yeah,
What's the turnaround on a white, you like your first expression gin that you had, the Waterloo?
We can distill it and bottle it inside of a couple of days.
Right. So that
Right.
allows you to start some flow of cash
Begin
and
to-
some name recognition and everything else.
Begin to get relationships going at the various retailers
Right.
and bars and restaurants. Yeah.
Definitely.
While you take your other distillates and put them in their barrels and start aging them for your whiskeys and things like that. So I think that might be a large part of it too, because there is so many new and unique expressions of gin now. The aged gin is something that I've been enjoying tremendously over the last couple years. I found there was a distillery out in Smithville that I bought one of their aged gin. The Bone Spirits had one that was really nice. We had on the show, and I haven't been able to get that, but I'm so glad that you have this one now, because I'm going to be.
Yeah, this is widely
This'll
available
be-
down here.
Yeah,
in
this will be on
Houston,
my
so-
shelf at all times.
How difficult is that to establish? I've asked this question of a number of spirits people. You've got a young distillery. You've got a couple of products to take out. How welcoming do you find the retail business, and how much of it is a struggle? Do
There's
they
the laugh.
do they look
It's-
at you like, oh wow, this is awesome, or do they look at you like, oh no, here comes another young distillery trying to get shelf space?
To me, and I'm going on personal experience here, so I'm not trying to knock any other brands or anything, but to me, it's all about the product that you put in the bottle. It's the end product. If you're out there and you're trying to sell, swill, it's
They're
going to
know
tough.
it. They're going to taste it.
Every time you go into an account to try and sell something in, first thing they want to do is taste it.
Right.
And then and then you got to have the taste. You got to have the correct juice in the bottle. You got to have and the other thing that everybody looks for now is kind of a story. They want to
Yes,
know
you're so
something.
right.
They
They
don't
wanna
want to
know.
just have some kind of just facade that you can
Right.
see right through. And
Right.
The number of times
It's not
people
just
stop
a
me at the
label.
bar and say, "Hey, what's up with that? I've never heard
What-
of that
yeah,
before."
what's the story with
tell
that?
me, tell me about
Yes.
that. Yeah.
No, you're so right. I think one of the things that has really happened as the number of, let's just call them craft spirits, has exploded, is that the story is more and more important. Sure, you got your packaging and the product once people taste it, but even before they taste it, it's sometimes the story that makes them
Yeah.
curious enough to say, "Okay, I'll try that." You
Well,
know?
one of the fun things, Mark,
It's half
when you,
my job.
when you were on our show last time, you brought 4 or 5 different expressions, wines and champagne or sparkling, and I'm trying to remember what all you brought, but every one you had a story and was very thought out. You brought these not because, oh, this is just an expensive thing or anything like that. You brought it because it had an interesting story, and that makes so much difference in how we enjoy something.
But there's so many brands out there that are well known or well recognized, or something that their father drank, like we talked about earlier.
yeah.
That is just a crutch, and I'm not dogging anybody. I'm sure they make really great things, but those are the things I don't have to sell.
Yep.
It's when people are curious and they want me to come to the table and say, "Hey, Mark, what's new? What do you love? What's happening? Here's the kind of things that I like. What can you
Right.
suggest for me?" And oftentimes it's those stories. It's not just a bunch of bull. It's a lot of stories, and it's a lot of history that goes into that.
Well, and you're even seeing the big name brands recognize that. I mean, look at the ads that are running. If you've seen the ads for Jack Daniels, where they've got the girl with the accent who's kind of crafting the story about all that's involved. What they're trying to do is attach a narrative to
They're
a
starting to
brand as
catch on,
iconic as Jack Daniels that you would think maybe don't need that, but they're seeing what's happening with
That's right.
with the
Well, and even
the up-and-coming
subliminally,
distilleries.
almost,
Yeah.
you have these big brands who are trying to cultivate a story,
Right,
whether it's
right.
true or not. They'll in the snow, and they'll whatever different things, and they'll that's their story of the year,
Sure,
and that's
right.
what they're trying to get people to
I
buy.
think consumers are pretty the knowledge
Pretty
level.
savvy, yeah.
They're pretty savvy, and I don't want to say they see right through some of that stuff, but I mean, a company like ours, with our history, we were the 4th legal distillery in the state of Texas.
Wow,
We've been
that's so
around
cool.
since 2006. Bootstrapped in the beginning, with our owners and founders, and just coming up and really going toe to toe with the big guys and being able to put our spirits and our product, what's in the bottle, up against, I mean, in my opinion, anyone that's making gin, that's making whiskey, and being able to stand toe to toe with them on quality and taste.
So, yeah, let me ask you this. How big a deal is it when you get on a menu like you are here at the Rainbow Lodge? And by that I mean, if I'm looking at the drink menu and I'm seeing the very old English fashioned or the Texas old fashioned, and it's got your gin or your whiskey in there by name, is that something that is that? Do you guys celebrate when you land one of those? Is that a big deal?
Yes, of course. Yeah, we light up cigars like with the gentleman we were talking about earlier,
Right.
and yeah, it's definitely it's two things. One, it's kind of proving all of our hard work, right? And you know, Mark recognizing the brand as both quality, the stories there. It's the whole package, right? You know, you're not going to put anybody on the menu. It's got to be one. The quality's got to be there because the cocktail has to taste right. You're not going to sell a lot of them if they order one and then don't
and
order
it's not
another
that good.
one.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a little bit of recognition on our part that the accountant, the customer, is recognizing the quality of the brand, recognizing the hard work that, you know, us as reps are doing, and, you know, coming in and then we love to come back and support all of the accounts, like,
Yes.
you know, doing stuff like this. So
Well, and on my end, it has to tick some boxes. I mean, yes, it's got to be good.
Right.
I have to enjoy it, but it also has to be appropriate for our program and our customers.
Has to fit the vibe of what you are as a restaurant,
It doesn't matter how delicious
right?
it is if I don't think my customers are going to buy it, then
Right.
it does.
Right.
It has no place here. And fortunately for Treaty Oak and Waterloo, that I'm a big fan, and they do well with our customers as well. So.
Well, and that makes a big difference at a place like this too, where you have a limited amount that you can carry. You
Right.
can't just carry everything.
Right.
You're not
You can't carry
specs.
everybody's everything.
You
right,
know,
yeah.
that's, you know, you can't just make more shelf space. You actually have to go, okay, well, if I carry this, I can't carry something else. So
Right.
you have to make a sacrifice for everything new. So it's got to be not just good, it's got to tick those boxes, and then it's got to be good enough to displace something else.
Right. By the way,
Which
just
is a big decision, I'm
Sure,
sure.
And
yeah.
just in case anybody thought we're not actually, you know, they're looking at the backdrop and thought they're not in the city, they're out in the country somewhere. No, you can hear the sirens like the highway's right there. We're you know we're
right here in the
we're right here in the city, but well, we've got a little oasis to be.
I didn't think they saw me getting here, man.
Pretty hidden back
Yeah,
here.
haven't you updated your license plate sticker yet, man? So you also, Mark, had brought out a Negroni for us.
Well, and I think that's a really good segue, because I could put anything in Negroni.
Right.
You know, there's everyone in town's got a Negroni on the menu, and people are using a lot of the same gin. I choose to use the Waterloo in there just because I think it works well with the.
and
with
this is
Campari.
the antique gin in this
Yes,
one.
yes.
There's a really beautiful bitterness to the aftertaste
Yes,
on
there
this.
really is.
That finishes off in such a nice way. That's real nice. I think, is it the orange peel that I'm tasting in there?
A little bit of the orange peel, and the Campari is also
The
quite
Campari,
bitter, yeah.
the Campari does have that kind of bitter
Yeah.
to the end. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I love the big ice cube, the big square clear ice cube. Is
I was
really
actually
nice
going to ask you
presentation.
about the ice.
Sure.
Reading more and more that ice really matters. Can you talk to me about that a little bit? The kind of ice.
Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, water matters because
Right.
it's going to melt and it's going
Yes.
to impart some of that into the cocktail. We make some ice here specifically for that reason. There's another gin drink that we have that's made with acidulated tonic and lime juice, so that when it melts, it imparts that flavor to the cocktail. With this particular ice, crystal clear ice like this, we purchased this. It's difficult to make this
Right.
in
yeah,
our setting
to make
here.
it crystal clear like that.
So in this application, it lasts longer.
Right.
It doesn't melt as quickly. Therefore, it doesn't dilute as often, as much as you'd like it to, especially if you're having something like a bourbon drink or this Negroni. And there's a great story behind the ice too. It's a bunch of bartenders here in town that got together and said, you know, we need to make some really great ice.
Better ice.
Yeah, better ice. And thankfully, I'm doing a good amount of business with the folks at Goody Goody, who carry this ice for us, and are selling it directly from these group of bartenders, and so it's
Wow.
helping
That's
my
so
own.
cool.
Have you ever tried to make perfectly clear ice at your house?
It's really hard.
Right. So what happens is whenever you toss ice cubes in your or ice trays in your freezer, they freeze and there's air
Right.
in the water, and that's why you get the not
That's
clear
why you get
ice.
right
That's what we
cloudy.
just normally
yeah.
see.
Nothing wrong with it, but just,
And it's the way it freezes and how fast it freezes and all those things. So to be able to control it and make cubes of perfectly good ice like this, you end up with a lot of waste product if you're doing this at home.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The
exactly.
waste ice, that is, and then you have to sit there and cut it apart yourself, and it's actually a royal pain. So having a place where you can go buy this has got to be wonderful, and
Yeah,
especially if
we
they're
have it
paying
delivered.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We have it delivered once a week. So
Yeah, and especially
That's
if they're paying super close attention to what kind of water goes into that ice.
Sure, right.
Because that's going to matter.
Absolutely. And,
Big
you know,
time.
we're seeing, and I think we'll probably talk about this when we get to the whiskey in the next segment, but we're seeing more and more that in the world of really trying to do excellent craft things, whether it's ice or whether it's whiskey or whether it's cigars or whatever, that the attention paid to detail, and when we get to the whiskey, we're going to talk, I think, about the grain, like the amount of
sure, yeah.
attention you guys are paying to the grain that you're using.
Yeah,
and
that
so
makes a big
you
difference.
go
That's a
back and
great
go,
story.
okay, well, yeah, and of course the water makes a huge difference, where the water's sourced from for all of this. So speaking of whiskey, I am looking forward to trying that, even though I do have a little more of the Negroni
This
to go.
Negroni is amazing.
It's really,
It's so
really
good, yeah.
amazing and delicious. And I'm just going to say, anybody that wants to just come and enjoy a great afternoon and just run through the drink menu. Just find your 2-3 favorite things, order them sequentially. You'll have a blast out here.
We talk about the stories that go into the drinks that we drink. One of the things that I appreciate here, getting to know you, is the amount of care and craft you put into making sure that when this comes to the table, it looks like this and tastes like this, and that makes a big difference.
It is a big
Cheers
difference.
to you,
Yes,
sir.
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Definitely
Yeah.
cheers to you.
Yes.
Okay, it's not the end of the show. Wait, just because we're cheering.
No, that was gratuitous cheers.
Yeah,
people.
we'll
Take whatever I can get, man.
We'll be right back with our next segment, and we'll be tasting some whiskey. Stand by. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are live at the Rainbow Lodge with Treaty Oak. It's show number 158. We're brought to you by the fine folks at B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork and Fort Worth, at BB Italia on Memorial in Houston, and BB Lemon on Washington Ave as well. What is the? I'm curious. Like, obviously, anytime, Mark, there's you're talking about restaurants and bars. There's a certain amount of competition, but there's also a certain amount of camaraderie between the different
in this market
restaurants and
especially.
bars in this town.
Yeah,
I've
you
noticed.
don't see that in a lot of places. You don't see it in Dallas. You don't see it in New York or Chicago or LA. In Houston, beverage professionals we're all friends. We all like to hang out with each other.
Mhm.
We visit each other's restaurants and bars.
And I think it may be a Houston thing, because we've noticed the same thing among the tobacco retailers, the
Yes.
cigar lounges. Is like they're like
All the
happy
reps,
to
yeah.
like refer you to a good shop that's close to
Yeah.
you. If
It's not at all like trying to get business or money from anybody. It's a very fraternal here, and I travel a lot, and I've not seen that really. Maybe a little bit in New Orleans.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
It's a very realistic view, though, because you're at a restaurant and you can't realistically expect people to show up every day.
No.
They're going to try
People are
different
going to go
things,
to
and
other
they
places.
should try
right.
different things.
Right. And it's the same thing really with beverages. You may have a favorite, but you're going to try new things if you're at all a fan
Yeah.
of cocktails or beverages or whatever. And in cigars, we see a lot that people are always looking for what's new.
Yeah.
And so the challenge for established brands becomes, how do I keep people coming back if they tried us when we were new and thought we were good? How do you keep people coming back? So, and I suppose that's a bit of a challenge in the spirits world. But I almost got to feel like if I've tried you and you're my favorite thing, well, I'm going to stay with you for a while.
Definitely, but with the emergence, like we were talking about earlier, with all the different brands that are coming out, you're going to have your core group of people, but those people that are on the fringe that think you have a quality product, but also want to experiment, and people like myself that have 100 different spirits at home. Even though I work for Treaty Oak, it's not all I drink.
Sure, you're going to try some other things. Yeah.
It's what I drink every day, but I drink other stuff as well. But it's just keeping that variety.
It's tough having a gig like yours.
Yeah, it's just so tough.
So walk us through the whiskey. Obviously, when you guys open the distillery, you are going to have to let whatever you are distilling age for a while. There are some distilleries that will focus on other beverages. You guys obviously did the gin.
And apparently there's one distillery who will age stuff for 5 seconds.
Right, yeah. And then there may be some others that
can't wait to try that.
There may be some others that age stuff for less time than they actually put on the bottle and get our buddy Wade all excited.
That's right.
But that's a different story. In any case, but one of the other paths here is to source whiskey externally, blend it where you are, work on coming up with a great blend, and put that on the market. And that's what you guys decided to do to start in whiskey. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. You just basically did my job for me. That's exactly the red-handed bourbon, which is what I just poured for you guys, is going to be – this was our first whiskey release. Right now, the current iteration that you guys are drinking is going to be a blend of 2 different distilleries, O.Z. Tyler out of Kentucky and Davis Valley Distilling out of Virginia. Both kind of small up-and-coming distilleries. In the case of O.Z. Tyler, they primarily only do source programs, so they sell their whiskey still in the barrels out to other.
And listen, for those who want to be like really super purists about this, I'll just tell you right now, some of my favorite whiskeys are blended whiskeys. Yeah. Like, this is not, I mean, I love a good, single malt or something that's a single cask or something like that, but some of the best flavors I've tried have been where somebody did a great job in the blending.
Well, I think that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm always amazed by someone that takes an organic material like grain, turns it into whiskey. And grain's not going to be the same from year to year. It's going to have little differences. Even if it's the same strain, even if it's grown as close to possible, there's going to be differences. And then somebody that can take these 2 whiskeys and blend them and make this very consistent, delicious flavor every single time. And it's unique. And it's interesting. And it's not just a whiskey. It's actually this whiskey, and that makes a big difference.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'd just like to appeal to the people who are involved in education in the schools. Mm-hmm. If someone, when I was in school, had said to me, Cruz, you really need to pay attention in math and applied sciences, because if you want to become a master distiller or a brewmaster, you're going to need to know this. I would have been much more motivated. But nobody told me.
I just want to point out, too, that no one ever said you could also be a whiskey or cigar or beer rep as well.
That's true. That's true.
No one ever mentioned any of those
You
things.
have a much better job, I think.
Even like, if someone had said, look, if you actually will, shudder the thought, go to Texas A&M. You could learn about soil and become a tobacco farmer and learn how to grow great tobacco that will become incredible cigars.
And get Nick Jonas in trouble.
I would have been so excited.
A&M has the barbecue program too, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Listen, I went to the University of Texas. My brother went to A&M. Yeah. So I always tell him when he has the A&M sticker on his car, I said, listen, I understand that not everyone can get into the University of Texas, but you don't necessarily have to advertise that on your bumper.
Look what we've devolved to.
Yeah, that's right.
Family robbery.
My apologies. I know we got plenty of A&M people, but no. If somebody told me, hey, you can go to A&M and learn how to learn about the soil, learn how to become a tobacco farmer, that would have interested me much more than
or even to grow grain.
Or to
create
grow grain.
Great whiskey. By the way, this whiskey is outstanding.
Yes, red-handed.
So this is our red-handed bourbon. Again, with the naming here, obviously we call it red-handed because it's like we got caught stealing it. So if it says on our bottles, we have 2 different iterations of red-handed, and if it says red-handed, it's a sourced whiskey. We're straight up front with that. All of our literature says where we get it from. It says on the bottle where it's distilled, what state it's distilled in, and then that it's bottled in Texas, obviously. So
I love this. I think it's got
outstanding.
The sort of caramel and the sort of like gentleness of the heat, the whiskey hug, as Ian likes to call it, is just wonderful.
It's going to be a little bit more of a rye forward bourbon, so definitely has some great flavor to it.
The flavor on this is so present right up front, even on the nose. This is one of the best smelling. Like right when you pull it up to your nose, you get that sweetness. There's a little rye kind of smell to it that really, really cuts through. There's that corn backing on it that really kind of drives it home. And then there's that whiskey hug that comes back just a minute later, because this is not super hot when you drink it, but it comes back a minute later and just is absolutely wonderful.
Hey there, how are you?
And this was the first one.
I feel like it's just come up behind me and put its arms around me.
Yeah, this was our first release of
It's
whiskey.
awkward.
Yep.
Wow.
So, yeah.
The whiskey hug. It's awkward. That's what the shirt's going to say.
So I'll take one of those.
We've totally got to get the.
We got these great ideas.
We've totally got to get these shirts put out. I'm with Nick. The whiskey hug. It's awkward.
I was going to say the whiskey hug on the front, and then on the back, it's awkward.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. I love it. Well, big ups for the red-handed. Big ups.
That is. And how long have you guys been open again? You said you started in
2006.
2006.
So I see this bottle also says red-handed, but this is red-handed rye. Is that right?
This is going to be an actual rye whiskey. So this one here, pretty unique juice in this bottle. Excuse me. This is going to be red-handed rye, sourced from Shinley Distilling in Alberta, Canada. Shinley is no longer a distillery, so some of the unique things about this stuff is, one, it's 10 years old. So it's a 10-year-old rye whiskey out of Canada that we were able to get our hands on. And as far as we can tell from the Shinley Distilling, this is some of the last of this mash bill that exists. So they were well known.
So you're saying this will only be around for a while?
This has a finite amount, and then it's gone. So that's another unique thing that we like to do with our whiskeys, keeping the source program around. Obviously, we have our own whiskey. We don't have to do the source program. We could concentrate just on ours, but being able to bring awesome whiskeys like this one to the world, it's kind of a passion project, and it's a lot of fun.
So is this one a blend, or
this one is just straight?
It's just
Shinley
straight
Distilling.
Shinley Distilling.
Yep.
So you're basically taking this and saying, we think this is awesome. We're going to put this out under our name, but we're of course going to tell you where it came from.
Exactly. So this was one that we brought in, and our original expectation was probably to use it in the red-handed program or something like that. But once we started tasting it, we realized
this one has a delicacy to it.
It's super,
Yeah, it has a delicacy to it that's really, really nice.
Well, it has a delicacy.
And I drank all mine.
It has a delicacy, but then the whiskey hug kind of clamps you around the shoulders and pulls you in tight in a way that's even a little more, forceful, I guess, than the last one.
This is a 100 proof whiskey.
Okay, so there
I
we
just
go.
drank all mine just like that.
Well,
that was so good and so easy to drink.
It really
is more
delicious.
of blowing in my ear than a hug.
Right. Okay. What was the?
Now we're getting into
blowing my ear and I'll follow you anywhere. Was that?
We're getting into whiskey necking. Yeah. That's a little awkward. That's even more awkward.
That's even more awkward. Yes, that's exactly right. This is absolutely delicious. And by the way, this HVC that I'm working on, which doesn't that sound like it's some sort of like
it sounds like a
piping
a
or
kind of pipe, yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. Sounds like it's something.
It's one letter off from what plumbs my house. Right?
It's either that or it's the air conditioning system for your apartment. But no, it really marries up very nicely with this rye. This is well, I can see why you guys wanted to bring this to the market just like it is.
Yeah,
because it's really spectacular.
I will tell you,
special whiskey.
I'll tell you this. I've mentioned it on the show before, but that rye especially. Can I have just a tiny bit more? I'm sorry to do that to you, but it's so good. All right, so check it out. Rye whiskeys, and here's a weird thing. Most of the time, if you have an IPA, If you're matching a beer and a whiskey together, and you have an IPA, IPAs tend to
not match as well.
Not match as well, especially
because of the
real
bitterness.
sweet bourbons and things like that. But a rye whiskey backing up an IPA, and especially a nice balanced IPA, something like a Two-Hearted Ale or in that line. Now, I'm not talking about
Yellow Rose, something like that. Yes,
something that has a good malt balance to it as well. That backs it up so well, and they form like Voltron. Like, they just become something way better when you're drinking those two things together.
They really are good, yes.
And I could see this happening really well with a nice IPA.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's working great with this cigar, too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of which, how's that cigar treating you?
It's really giving me lots of toast and a little bit of that tangy pepper on the tongue that comes with Nicaraguan tobacco. I'm not sure. Actually, I didn't do my research before the show to see where the tobacco is for this because, again, this was just Alan said, buy that one. Okay, I bought that one because I trust him. In matters of cigars, he's a trustable man.
So this Family Reserve, which, as you can see, I don't want to give up.
Yeah, right.
It's actually getting a little warm on my fingers right now. I'm going to keep smoking it anyway. But it's such a good cigar. The balance of flavors is so interesting, and it keeps evolving. But one of the interesting things is it's gone with so many of these drinks. It's gone so well
Pretty
with.
much all but one, like it went pretty well, right?
It
Yeah.
only clashed a little bit with the Yopon.
Yep.
And which was delicious on its own. And would probably take a different cigar of some sort, maybe something Cameroon or even a Connecticut wrapper or something like that would probably go along well with it. But this right here, together with this is why I wanted a little more, is they go so well together, and the flavors blend so well together. And it brings out some of the sweeter rye flavors in here, and it brings out a little bit of the campfire and a little bit of the sweeter flavors in my cigar.
In the
as
cigar,
well.
yeah.
Really match as well.
That's a wonderful thing. There were just a couple of guys that were out here enjoying their own cigars, and they actually just got up to go back inside to the restaurant. But I was very, very enviously noticing their little carry-along humidors that they brought with them. So
nice.
So obviously they've been here before, brought their own cigars.
They have the host. In fact, the host
here.
warned them that we would be smoking cigars back here, and if that was going to be a problem, and he said no,
I don't think so.
No,
and
that's no problem.
The coolest travel humidor ever. Yeah. So, well, I got to tell you, this whiskey is just. I can totally see why you guys wanted to just pass this along as is, because that's a special thing. I'm curious, what would a bottle of this retail for?
About 65 retail.
Wow.
Yeah, 60, 65.
That's outstanding.
I think that's completely outstanding. Yeah.
For a 10-year-old,
absolutely.
which technically, we can't change the label every year, but technically this is at a birthday. It's in the barrel on our property is over 11 years.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah,
oh, that's great.
Yeah, you can't necessarily go and change the label every birthday,
especially for a one-off product. For like this. So, yeah, it says 10 years on the bottle, but it said technically 11 years.
If you had to guess, how much longer will we be able to find this?
If current projections, probably a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay, you've been warned,
but
people.
if I do my job correctly, a lot less than that.
Okay. Understand.
Yeah.
He's your friend, but maybe not.
No, I'm your friend. You want some whiskey? I'm your friend.
Well, I will tell you, it is definitely worth searching out and getting a bottle of this in your bar before you before you were unable to find it again. All right, so I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We have one more whiskey, and I think we have one whiskey cocktail to try here, don't we?
That's right.
So we're going to see how this works, and we'll be going to the Ghost Hill, which now we're talking about your whiskey, right? This is what you guys have distilled, correct? That's what we're going to
That's
next.
correct.
Do
That's
I need
correct.
to rinse this?
So I'm very, very excited about this. We are Smoking and Toasting, and we'll be right back.
Appreciate it.
All right, welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are live at the Rainbow Lodge in Houston. Clearly, we've done this is our 158th show, and there's no question to me that this is the most gorgeous location that we've been in 158 shows. As we're on the back deck here. Yeah, it really is. It's it reminds me of how much the whole concept of having a cigar and a drink when surrounded by beauty. Now, I'm really partial to the ocean. I love the waves. I love, my only complaint about having a cigar on the beach is sometimes the wind makes it harder to enjoy the cigar. But if you can get into a good situation where you're watching the water and enjoying a cigar, enjoying a great drink, that's wonderful. But this rivals it easily.
When you're in the middle of the city,
is gorgeous,
and this is what
right.
you see.
Just so you know,
so I brought my wife here for our Valentine's Day dinner. We didn't do it on Valentine's Day this year because Valentine's, I think, was on a Thursday or something like that.
Plus, that's kind of amateur night. The way,
yeah,
Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve, that's amateur night.
So I brought her a week later, and I don't remember if I told this story on the show last time when you were on, but this place treats you so well. We came in here, I surprised her. We just showed up. I think it was a Saturday afternoon. We showed up, and we got ourselves a nice table, and our server was amazing. She started chatting with us, and it came out that this was our Valentine's dinner, and that we just waited, and blah, 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 and our server smiled and said, "Oh, that's very sweet," and walked off. And we never talked again about that. We talked about the food, and we ordered our food and had great service the whole time.
But you weren't on Valentine's Day, so
no. This was
your Valentine's,
like almost the second week after. And at the end of it, she came out with dessert, and it was on a little cake, and it said "Happy Valentine's Day" right there. I mean, like, that's the kind of service you get here. We, completely not asked for or anything like that, and it just. My wife was so happy, and that made me so happy. It just made it a super special occasion on a Saturday afternoon.
Right. We've been making men look good since 1977.
It's amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah. I remember saying, when I brought my wife here recently, I remember saying, "Hey, babe, I'm ordering the elk." Like, there's something very manly about that.
You sat right here.
Yeah, I did. So I had a beautiful view,
yeah.
just right out of here. Yes. No, but honestly, and by the way, I've talked a lot about your, wild game sort of meats, but that's not the only thing on the menu. You can also get
Gulf seafood. We do a lot of seafood from the Gulf. In fact, we have not necessarily from the Gulf, but we have a rainbow trout that's always on the menu. It's kind of our it's our namesake dish.
Right.
With pecans and brown butter and crab meat, and it's spectacular. That comes from Idaho, but it's just one of our most favorite dishes, and people love it.
Well, I would just mention if you've always wanted to try something, come here, get something like that as your main course, but order that appetizer that'll let you try some of the really exotic meats. Because it's a really awesome idea.
And then don't forget, after you're done, if you sit inside, and everything is beautiful inside, if you sit inside, come outside, and after our dinner here, we took a walk around the grounds out here because it's just gorgeous,
romantic,
like beautiful
and
garden,
little twinkling lights. It's a nice,
absolutely
place,
wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
And I just want to mention again, this is a spot in the heart of the city, which is what's wonderful about it. We didn't have to drive to Bandera or, no offense, Dripping Springs.
Yeah, it's still inside the loop, which gives it a certain level of cool around
That's
here.
Absolutely right.
They're all 713.
Speaking of Dripping Springs, you guys, you mentioned you guys were the fourth legal distillery in the
Texas.
state of Texas. Yep. That's actually pretty amazing when you think of how many of them there are now.
Yeah.
That you were the fourth one.
Big boys too. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so you guys came into being in Dripping Springs, which actually is a pretty hip area. Well, look, anything that shares, an area code with Austin is pretty hip.
Well, we did start off in Austin proper.
Right.
Back in 2006, operated out of a glorified warehouse. And,
sure.
That's where we got our start.
From humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
On homemade stills and all that. So.
But if you think about it, I mean, Austin is kind of the Texas epicenter of the craft spirits movement. I'll make you an argument that when it comes to beer, that Houston beats Austin.
I'll back up that argument, and I'll tell you why. Austin has great breweries there.
Yeah, they do.
Houston has great breweries.
Many great breweries.
Houston is so much bigger than Austin.
Right. There's more up there.
And has so many more breweries. There's I think it was a Onion article, which is like a spoof news, where everything in Houston is an hour from Houston.
Right.
And
they're not
still
in Houston.
It's absolutely true.
It really is.
You heard the laugh. It's absolutely true.
Yeah. Well,
you know?
but I will say, when it comes to spirits, though, I think Austin wins hands down as far as, or the Austin area at least wins hands down.
Well,
as far
Austin
as
has a
Texas
history
is
of it, and
concerned.
Houston's spirits are so brand new.
Right. There's some great stuff.
It's hard to get
developing
anything
there,
aged like this last one you poured.
Right.
It's hard to get anything like that out of Houston right
so
now.
In my humble opinion, the epicenter for the best spirits in Texas is 16604 Fitzhugh Road in
See, I love
Dripping
this guy.
Springs.
I love this guy. Like,
Say that one more time.
16604 Fitzhugh Road.
by the way,
in Dripping Springs.
if I were to come there, tell me what, like as a customer, what you've got, like, obviously on premise. We can come in. We can,
you can come in.
Try
we
things.
We have
You
a
do
tasting
tours,
room.
Tasting
we do
room.
tours on Saturdays. If you're lucky enough to get in the tasting room on a Saturday, you'll meet Miss Alice, who shout out to Miss Alice since we are live. It's her birthday today.
Oh,
Happy birthday, Miss Alice.
Happy
And,
birthday, Miss
she's
Alice.
kind
Well,
of
if you
our-
were here, you'd be getting a
Yeah.
special dessert inside right about now.
She's our matriarch of the family, and she keeps us all in line and tells us when we're messing up and tells us to eat right. And
Well, I haven't seen her texting anything on here, so she's obviously happy right now.
yeah, probably she's probably happy right now. But
By the way, I know this is a total change of subject, and we'll come right back. But I was looking at the Glencairn that's holding this whiskey, and I saw RL, and my brain, of course, because the brain fills in extra things that it's not supposed to. I saw TRL, which made me think of TRL and MTV, Nick Jonas. Like, I thought everything's coming full circle.
I was wondering
here.
where you were going.
Yeah,
with
everything's
that.
coming full circle on the show.
Wait,
But
wait, wait.
unfortunately, it's
Back
just
up, back.
RL.
Are you talking about
This
when?
is Rainbow Lodge.
Are you talking about MTV when they used to actually show music videos?
Well, there was a time.
Yeah,
I know.
now you're showing your age.
I know. I am showing my age. Yes.
if
yes.
you remember MTV playing music,
Yeah. You remember
you're
why it
old.
even has music in the name. You're,
That's right.
you're old. But no, it's the Rainbow Lodge Glencairn, and these are very nice. And so tell us, this is the Ghost Hill.
Right.
This is your pride and joy. I'm
this
guessing.
is our baby, and this is called our Ghost Hill bourbon. Ghost Hill, again, going back to the naming, Ghost Hill was the original name of the property that we sit on. It was called Ghost Hill
Sweet.
Ranch before, so that name goes back almost 200 years.
There's got to be a
Wow.
story there.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool stories, some pretty cool artifacts. We have a guy, Jeremy, on the property that goes around with his metal detector and digs up old artifacts, and we have them all displayed and stuff. So he actually just did a storytelling last weekend out at the property where he basically went around as like a tour guide and just kind of described some of the history of the land that we sat on.
How fun is that?
So really cool. Yeah, I was sad I missed it, but I was in Tahoe selling some whiskey. So, but
Nice.
yeah, cool stories and great property. But
there's
this is our Ghost Hill
Lots of
bourbon.
There's lots of things at the distillery that you can do. There's a restaurant there.
There's a full service restaurant called Alice's Restaurant. Like I said, she runs us all out there, but it's called Alice's Restaurant. We have an amazing barbecue program, and you guys know as well as I do that there's some top-notch barbecue coming out of Austin.
Oh, yeah.
Dude.
And I'll put our stuff up against anybody.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah.
I've thrown down
That's
I've
actually
thrown
a
down-
bold. That's a bold statement.
Yeah, it's a bold statement, and I'm not afraid to tell it. I know, our pitmaster probably would be like, "Hey, don't do that, man." But
Yeah.
but I do trust and believe. If you guys can tell by looking at me, I love meat and I love to eat, and our barbecue program rivals anybody's out there.
So this is all on your property there.
Yeah.
People come out
Yes,
to
sir.
visit
Yep.
the distillery.
And we have, again, like I said, we do tours. We have a tasting room. We have one bar that's more of elevated cocktails. We have fast-paced bars, that can get you a cocktail in under 30 seconds through craft draft systems.
Nice.
And then we also
Nice.
have a full beer program. We do our own beer on the property.
Nice.
And we have a wine program as well. So we have our own Treaty Oak wine on the property.
So the tough thing is picking.
What are
you're
your
gonna-
What are your hours that you're open to public out there?
So right now we are open 7 days a week. Our tasting room just opened 7 days a week. I want to say it's 3 to 7 every day of the week, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. That's when the property kind of opens up. The restaurants open and everything, and that's going to be noon to 9. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Nice.
So those are your
Awesome.
go-to hours if you want to come out and enjoy the entire experience, the restaurant, the full kind of thing. So
So
Awesome.
talk to me a little bit about Ghost Hill. This is the one. This is your baby.
Yep.
You distill it on the premises. How old is this going to be now?
So
at this point?
this is going to be a 2-year-old bourbon.
Nice.
So that's going to be the youngest juice that goes in a bottle is going to be a 2-year-old.
You know, one of the things I love about working with Ian on this program is that often while I'm trying to sort of figure out the hosting duties, does Ian just sit over idly? No, Ian does research.
I do research.
Yes, and I see that you've already done your research on
I have
on the
annihilated
Ghost
this.
Hill. So talk to me.
This is so good with the cigar, the previous cigar that I finished right when you poured this, and my new cigar that I just fired up, which is a Fuente Gran Reserva, which is, it's hard to go wrong with that.
I was going to say what? Yeah, what you just
I
brought
went pretty classic
you brought
today,
the dregs
didn't I?
today, didn't you?
Yeah,
Only the best at Rainbow Lodge.
so I only have really, really good cigars in my humidor.
Yeah.
Because I smoked all the other ones.
Yeah, right.
And I haven't replaced them at all yet.
that actually can be a problem sometimes
Right.
when I'm headed out on the balcony and it's a little windy and I don't want to really sacrifice a really great cigar on a windy day because it's going to burn a little hotter. You're not going to get quite the same flavor out of it.
Sorry about that.
And I go and I look for. I hate when I go and look for a cheaper cigar and I have trouble finding one.
You don't have one, right?
It's like,
Right.
What am I doing here?
So the humidor issue is only an issue in that every once in a while I go through a purge where I go, you know what? I have a couple hundred cigars in my humidor, and I just don't buy cigars for a while, and I just smoke through them, and I'm just about at the bottom dregs of it, and you'd think the dregs would be the lower end cigars, but it's actually the ones that I save for the special occasions and stuff.
Well, you've given me a wonderful idea. I now know what I'm getting you for Christmas. Really cheap cigars.
Great.
Help round out your humidor. You'll thank me when it's time to mow the lawn. You'll thank me.
There is that, and I need to do that, by the way.
Yeah. I got to tell you, this is really spectacular, and it's so interesting to me. After tasting the rye and tasting the first blended whiskey, how different this one actually is. It's really got a very different taste profile, which Ian can probably describe better than me. But
so there's so much caramel and a tiny hint of smoke in it. Can I have a little more of that now?
I was way
the
ahead of you.
smoke is what I was trying to.
Yeah, there's a tiny bit of smoke in the back of that.
It's
that's
certainly
just so
not
nice.
enough that you would think of it as leaning towards that sort of peated flavor.
No, I wouldn't
But
call
it
it.
is
I
a
wouldn't call it
touch of
smoky,
smoke, yeah.
a smoky bourbon, but it's got just a touch of that. And you mentioned the
Makes it
barbecue.
interesting.
I bet this and barbecue
Dude.
are amazing.
There's a
together.
reason that we kind of Alice's restaurant kind of went through a few iterations, different menus, and we circled all the way back to where we kind of originally designed it to go with barbecue because of the Ghost Hill bourbon. I mean, and the way that they pair together, just smoked meats in general, just kind of with this particular bourbon, just go hand in hand.
So this has such a clean. There's a sweetness to it. There's on the retro hail you get some caramel and smoke, just a tiny little bit of smoke, which is so nice. Also, this is not a big oily mouthfeel. It's actually a little thinner overall, but I think that lends to how quick and how fast the flavors hit your palate.
Mm-hmm.
They really hit your palate in a quickness, and it's balanced. It's got a nice maltiness, and then it has an overall mineral water kind of flavor. Like the water in this tastes so good.
Well, we do use for proofing. We use water straight from our well, right there on the property in Dripping Springs. So it is,
and it's called Dripping Springs. So I'm assuming
there's some gray water coming off that aquifer. Yeah,
But
so
I think you're also
filtered water.
You also have paid though a lot of attention to the grain, haven't you?
Of course, yep. So the grain in that we use our grain purveyor, a man by the name of James Brown that has Barton Springs Mill, which is kind of a staple in the Austin community restaurant and obviously for us distilling. He's an amazing guy that was actually nominated for a James Beard Award for his work in reintroducing ancient grains and heirloom grains. So we work really closely with him, and what he does is he goes out and works directly with the farmers to get our specific grains. So our corn and our wheat come from Texas. Our barley doesn't grow very well in Texas, so we get that a little farther to the north. But
barley and hops are not great in Texas.
they don't go around here so well.
So we actually have had he's brought our distillers out to the farm fields, prior to harvest, and kind of gotten their hands dirty and been like, this is going to be your wheat. This is going to be your corn.
Get to know it, nice.
Get to know it. Here's why I'm picking this farm field. Here's why we're working with them. What some of the unique aspects that we use a yellow number 1 corn in our Ghost Hill bourbon, which if you don't know, yellow number 1 is actually a food grade corn. So it's the same corn you would go out and you would buy if you wanted to mill it up and make masa or whatever. It's actually can be consumed by humans, whereas number 2, number 3 is going to be more of your like broken pieces, might have some husk in there or some cob. The yellow number 1 is a high quality corn. Obviously it's more expensive, and we've paid really close attention to using high quality grains in the Ghost Hill bourbon.
So are there some distilleries that are using the
most do not. Most use
most-
number 2 or number 3.
But obviously, it's more economically
more economic. Yeah.
How much flavor difference do you think is there between a number 2 and a number 1?
A huge. The majority of what you get is more sweetness. You have more usable sugars in the yellow number 1 because it is a whole kernel corn. So it's actually that the whole kernel comes in the bags that we get, and then we get it to James Brown, and he mills it for us into a usable mill.
And he takes it to the bridge.
Yeah, which is actually unique.
You knew that was coming up, right?
What's the unique thing about our relationship with him is we actually sold him 2 acres of our property, and he's moved his entire granary onto our property in Dripping Springs. So he's literally a stone's throw from the distillery at any given time. When our grain gets delivered, it goes straight to him for milling, goes straight back to us for production.
That's
so
nice.
it's awesome to have him there. And probably the best part about that is it sounds like he's opening up a bakery and a pizzeria as well. So we should have some.
So I think for a lot of people on our show, they don't know that corn comes in so many different levels.
Right.
And there's corn used for a lot of different things. Some of it's used for fuel. Some of it's used for whiskey, which is also kind of fuel.
Some of it's used for feed for animals.
Feed grade, and there's a lot of different grades that go on of corn. Even a lot of farms that farm other things will farm corn when they're turning their fields around, when they're rotating their crops, just to be able to have some kind of crop on that field that's not what they normally make, so that they can make a few bucks on rotating their crops and things like that. And I think that if you're paying a lot of attention to some of those corns that aren't necessarily industrial grade make a big difference.
Of course, yeah. And we concentrate on using all non-GMO, open pollination grains for our whiskey as well. So
just naturally grown.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Absolutely. What is a bottle of this going to retail for?
This is going to be about around $40.
Wow.
$42. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's such a deal.
That's an amazing deal.
It's such a
It
deal,
really
and
is.
we were talking about the story earlier, and that's exactly why that this is on the program here at Rainbow Lodge. Just because
it's super affordable. It's very an approachable whiskey. In my opinion, some of the best quality out there with stuff of similar age and mash bill. And your description was spot on because it took you a while to get all the descriptive words out, and what I like to refer to it as, it's a complex whiskey.
It is.
For as
There's
young
a lot
as it
going
is.
on, right.
For as young as it is, it's so complex, and it kind of hits all the great points.
I'm surprised you said it was 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm super surprised by that.
Right,
How
for a
smooth.
2-year whiskey, it's got great smoothness.
Yeah.
Great
in
smoothness.
the Texas sun.
Yep.
Yes, I love it. Mark, you had some cocktails sent out earlier, and this one has admittedly been sitting here for a little while. But is this the Texas?
This is the Texas Old Fashioned, and we were so enamored by the story of how this whiskey comes about that we wanted to do something with it, and we wanted to do something special with it. And so the Texas Old Fashioned was born. It's this all Texas whiskey from the aging to the bottling to the distillate, all comes from here. We're using a sarsaparilla bitters that comes out of Austin. Obviously, the sugar that we get comes from here in town.
And the grapefruit's Texas grapefruit.
It is Texas grapefruit, yeah.
Yeah, the grapefruit's so nice on the.
Yeah, it really is. Even though this one's been sitting here for a little while, man, just swirl this around a little bit, and it's awfully good.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Super good.
You know, there's certain drinks that can stand like this. This has been watered a little bit because they were all brought out at the same time. So this one has a little more water in it than I'm sure when you first, the way you first envisioned it. and it is still fantastic. The grapefruit
really is.
on this is such a nice cleansing kind of to the palate thing. And it's grapefruit in a way that it's not the bitter grapefruit. It's just a little bit of that grapefruit kind of in the back of the nose and on the retrohale.
there's a little bit, but the skin will give it a little bit of bitterness.
Yeah.
And we make a grapefruit bitters that goes into this as well. So it's a crafted cocktail. It's something that we're really proud of, and
I can see
geez, we
this.
sell a ton of them.
I can see this, especially on a hot day, being a little bit dangerous and too easy to drink.
Yes, and I'll just say, we started out the show saying we were going to talk about wines for the holidays, and we've completely not talked about that at all. We've talked instead about how great these different spirits are, and about the cocktails.
I'm here every day.
So, Mark,
anyone can come in and chat with me.
And would you be willing to come back on before
course,
Christmas
yeah.
and talk wine for the holidays?
We got a little derailed on this one.
But what a wonderful derailment this has been. It's like this has just been
The cocktails
an
here are
extremely-
so good.
yeah,
So
an
good.
extremely enjoyable show, and I love that because when my wife and I came for dinner, I went straight for that British sparkling wine that you had bought on the show.
Ridgeview, yeah.
Yes, and that's what we had, and it was so good. So we didn't go the cocktail route, and I'm so thrilled now to be sampling these cocktails because these are very well crafted, very well done, and there's a certain thoughtfulness in how you've matched the flavors and the ingredients on these.
My wife is
totally
going to
make
watch
me
this
happy.
show, and then she's going to go out and buy ingredients.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Now, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. It's not going to be inexpensive, because when you buy the ingredients for cocktails of this quality, it's not cheap, and you're not skimping on it. Like I said, even about the ice, you're paying a premium for that ice. You could just have an ice machine in the back, but you don't, because it's not right for that drink. That makes a large difference.
I have a solution for you.
What's that?
Just bring your wife back to the Rainbow Lodge.
Just come back, grab some milk, and
It's
then
all-
come
That's
back
probably
here.
going to be that's probably going to be
It's
it,
all
right?
I'll put a cake on the table. She'll love it.
I just wanted to mention, too, because I'm sitting here looking at...
She's so jealous right now, by the way.
I'm sitting here looking at the bottom end of the menu, the drink menu here at Rainbow Lodge, because it has our old-fashioned on it that we have been talking about. But I'm also noticing, and I just really wanted to commend you, because I've complained a lot about the unimaginative nature of the beer selection at many fantastic restaurants. I mean, we're talking places where the food, where so much thought and preparation goes into the food, and maybe a great deal of thought and preparation went into the wine list. And then you look at the beer list, and they basically said, yeah, just put all the AB brands in, and we're done. Yeah. And I understand you got to carry Bud Light or whatever. I do. Although places that don't, I salute you. But that's not the point. The point is, I'm looking at just in their draft, they've got 3 amazing Houston area beers on draft currently, and I assume these probably rotate.
We call it hyper local.
Yeah.
Everything on draft here at the Rainbow Lodge is sourced and made within a half mile of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Oh,
Currently-
what is on there? Can you read it?
Currently, they've got a City Acre Hitchcock Blonde,
Nice.
the Eureka Heights Wicked Awesome ESB.
I love that beer. No one
It's
makes ESBs.
so good. And
There's
Buffalo-
only so few. There's so few on the market, and I just want to give hands out again to Eureka Heights for making that beer.
And Buffalo Bayou's More Cowbell, the double
Nice.
IPA.
Oh, see?
yeah.
And not the ubiquitous
Right, exactly.
IPA that you see at
that
every
you
other
see
place.
everywhere in Houston, yes.
Right.
And by the way, in bottles and cans, they've got the Southern Star Buried Hatchet Stout.
Oh, my gosh.
So it's like-
absolutely one of the
So
best
the only
stouts
problem
in
is, what the
existence.
hell do I actually order when
Well,
I come
and this week you'll have another option because I've
Yeah.
got a dry cider coming from the Houston Cider Company,
Nice.
and it's actually going in a cocktail for the holidays. And
What cocktail do you make with a dry cider?
it's you'll have to come to Rainbow Lodge and find out.
It's a surprise. All
It's
right.
delicious. It's got apples in it.
When is that happening?
Probably early next week.
Okay, so early next week we got to come back for a cocktail.
Yeah, where my head is in cocktail mode for the holidays, and while it doesn't feel like winter out here, that's where the kind of the cocktail program.
This is almost
Well, we're
winter for
headed
Texas.
Yeah.
We're headed that way. We really are.
I mean,
And-
you're wearing a jacket and you're not sweating too bad. That's winter for Texas.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to mention we will have, if you're willing, Mark, we do want to have you back on.
I'd love that, yeah,
and
sure.
soon, maybe you can come into the studio, or we'll come back here. But I do want to talk. I do want to
Holiday
talk wines
wines.
for the holidays.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, this was so interesting. I love the stories behind all of your products, and quite frankly, everything you've served us here today has been exceptional.
Thank you.
Just
Thank
been
you very
exceptional.
much, man.
Well, I always say that I love living in the city because I'm never far from a leaf blower, and since the leaf blower is starting up, that probably gives us a good reason to start wrapping the show up, as we have been nice and long here. But that's what happens when you're tasting these kind of things. Okay, website information. Where can we find out more about
TreatyOakDistilling.com and also
TreatyOakDistilling.com.
WaterlooGin.com. We have 2 different websites on there. You can find all of our information for the ranch. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, under both of those tags.
And people can come out. You said, what days is everything open?
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, so Saturday's the big day out there. We usually have a lot of good live music. Check out our Facebook for event pages, and we got a lot of cool things coming up. We got the cast and crew of the original Sandlot movie and Alamo Drafthouse coming out on later this month.
That's
so
awesome.
That's
yeah,
really
check
cool.
that out. Come out and see us. That should be a huge production. Last time we had Alamo out, it was massive. So
Nice.
yeah, it should be really cool.
Well, Mark, I just want to give huge props to Rainbow Lodge for supporting a product like Treaty Oak. This is such a great thing to have integrated into your menu because A, it's delicious, but B, it's real, and that's one of the things we really like to celebrate
Yes,
here.
yes.
Is places that really do it themselves and do it right, and so hats off to you guys. And plus, your menu is just delicious here.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. I also want to point out, go check us out on YouTube. Hit our YouTube channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We need more subscribers. We haven't pushed our YouTube channel a whole bunch, but we're starting to put it up in segments. You can watch little bits of this.
Yeah.
Hit the YouTube channel, and there's a little bell that'll send you notifications when we post up new YouTube stuff. So if you're at work and you can't be here when we're doing this live, please hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell. That'll let you know whenever we got new stuff up, and you can share it out to your friends. It's awesome.
And last but not least, Whiskey Sniff. Tickets are selling fast.
The
It
Whiskey
is
Sniff.
coming up. It's in November, and it's like not far away. So you want to go ahead and get your tickets. You'll arrive. You'll get a bag of goodies that includes cigars, and then you'll get to walk around and do the Whiskey Sniff with any of the spirits that are on display, any or many. And Ian will be there in person.
I will.
Demonstrating exactly how
If you need me
the
to show
Whiskey
you
Sniff
how to do
needs
the
to
whiskey
go.
sniff, I will actually walk you through the entire process. It's super simple.
Can I get a whiskey hug?
Yes, you can.
That's awkward.
Yes, you can.
That's
It is awkward, but I'll do that for you, sir.
I've been called worse.
Wednesday, November 6th, go to eventbrite.com and search Whiskey Sniff to find the tickets. Thank you, Mark, so much for inviting us to do the show here. This has been
This
just
is
absolutely
beautiful.
gorgeous.
It's
Yeah.
It's been my
Beautiful.
pleasure having you
Absolutely
all
gorgeous.
here. Absolutely.
And I hope you don't mind if Ian and I just hang around for like 8 hours.
Not at all. I've got plenty of booze.
Awesome.
I love that.
Tony,
about
thanks so much for all that you guys do and for being on the show. We appreciate it. You're welcome back anytime. You got anything new that you're coming out with or new stuff to talk about, be sure and contact us so we can get you back on.
For sure. And anytime, open invitation, you guys. Anytime you want to come out to Treaty Oak and film a show out there, you're more than welcome.
And we just
Yeah,
walk in and go,
listen.
we know Tony, and they'll take care of it.
it. You're like, hey, we're
perfect.
Tony's friend.
My name goes a little. It goes a little.
There's a little
far,
bit of weight there.
A little bit of weight.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody.